Hello anybody, it sure has been a while since we've done a Let's Play. Funny about that. Hello, I am Mr. Devious though, and I am here today to start a new Let's Play of Rogue Legacy, a darling indie hit of 2011-2013. I'm not sure if it started development in 2011 or 2013, but anyway, let's just try and get right into it. So first things first, I'm going to, First, we're going to go to change profile, and we're going to take this file that says Sir Lee the Knight, and we're just going to delete that. Because as soon as we do that, we will start the game. The prologue proper. My duties are to my family. But I am loyal only to myself. So here we have the tutorial slash prologue where the game just kind of teaches you how to play. Rogue Legacy was a big, not really a, I don't know if I would call it a huge deal when it came out, but it was a pretty popular game when it came out a few years ago. And as you can see the attacks here. It's got a very distinct style, very prominent art with black lines around the character models and things that you can attack. There's a lot of smashing and stuff. It's, at its core, a roguelike, but we're not going to see what exactly that entails until we get past the prologue. We get some really nice music. The music in this game is fantastic. I highly recommend the soundtrack if you can ever get it, or like if you can. It should be available to buy on like iTunes. I know because I bought it on iTunes because it is just that pleasant. So let us finish this random act of vandalism and just keep going on ahead. Well, the game's telling us to attack, so... And that brings us back to the title screen. Rogue Legacy, Cellar Door Games. It is a wonderful game, and we are going to jump right in properly, without much explanation for what just happened. So here we are, somebody else. In this beginning area of the game, before the castle, you get to attack this dummy, and it tests out your moves, and just kind of see how much damage they do. It's kind of like Castlevania in that way, not like those kinds of games where you have your basic attack and then you have a mana-based move, and you start off with a knife, usually with your first character, I think. So the main gimmick of this game is that this castle is always changing. That every time you enter it, it gets a new layout. We need to beat 4 bosses in order to go through this door to face the final boss. This is a warp point, and there are warp points throughout the castle, but we'll get there as we go, and get 100 gold from a chair, very nice. Journal entry 1. Treason! An assassin has wounded my father, the king. To bring order back to the kingdom, he has sent my siblings and I on a quest to save him. Together we will venture into the cursed woods and enter Castle Hamson. This cursed castle has stood on the edge of the woods since time immemorial, but rumors say that within it dwells an item which will cure any ailment. Tonight, I will get a head start over my brothers and sisters and set forth on my quest while they lay asleep. To fail this quest would be an embarrassment to my name. So now we kind of have the inklings of a plot of a disgraced prince seeking retribution by finding a cure for the king in this cursed Castle Hamson, where the layout always changes. Now, here's the thing that kills people really quickly, is that they do not expect the amount of damage to stack up as quickly as it does. Hits in this game just kind of hit you, and they don't really have as much oomph as you would expect. You can take hits really fast and die very quickly, but I've always noticed that the first character you play as tends to be fairly good. This is a knight class. Knight classes are fairly well-rounded. They have good strength, they have decent MP, and they have pretty good health, quite frankly. So it's a nice starting class for the game to start you off with. And here we already found a teleport room right above the first one. That's a little silly. And we do not want to go in here. That is the Maya. That is another area of the game. This game is split up into 4 sections. Castle Hamson, the castle area, the Maya, which is like a tower area, the forest, which is self-explanatory and to the east, and the dungeons, which are down below. First things first, we're going to be handling the castle. You can definitely go to the other areas earlier if you're skilled enough, but you're a lot more likely to die in only a couple hits, because this is a roguelite, rather than a roguelike, as some people would say. people who like games like Rogue, I think the original game that this kind of idea was based off of was Rogue, where the idea is when you die, you lose everything and have to start over. But this is a roguelite in the sense that you have to start over when you die, but you do retain some stuff when you die, and I will be dying very likely, but I'm doing pretty well so far. Grey Knights do a lot of damage, these big guys. Whenever you see big guys in armor, they're pretty easy to deal with though. You can just kind of get in a few hits and retreat, and that's the best way to defend them. Now, those boxes, those guard boxes, they're a little bit tricky in that even though they look stationary, they will spin around to face whatever direction you're facing. And these things have a spiky floor, and these will do damage to you. So you have a little bit of a puzzle here, a little bit of a platforming puzzle, and that's the thing I like about this game, is that it has a pretty good emphasis on platforming. So this game, oh, I found a blueprint for armor that you can make as you get more money and you can get a blacksmith to increase your armor and your stats and all that. This is a powerful portrait, as you can see, it just did a lot of damage to me. This is a level 2 or a stage 2 enemy in terms of its strength. Enemies have tiers in how strong they are, so there are stronger versions of every enemy. Kind of like how in an RPG you start fighting recolors, except in this case they look fairly different. Like these enemies, they have their faces on the portrait underneath are a bit spookier and a bit more sinister than the one version, or the regular version of themselves, which is weaker. Now this is a fairy chest room. Fairy chests are nice little challenge rooms where you just have to complete an objective without failing it, and when you fail you may as well get out because then the chest won't open for you even if you find it. I'm pretty low on health, but I'm actually doing pretty well for this being my first life. Will this enter the Maya? No, it won't. It'll be another room with a fairy chest. Let's see if I can redeem myself for my poor... God damn it! And I almost died. Well, could have gone a lot worse at least. Now that we've explored pretty much the top area of the castle, we're gonna head on down, further down, and see what we can do. Typically in this game, I find a good practice to just kind of clear everything out of a room once. It might be a good idea to leave breakables behind in case, like, they have food in them, which you need to survive and live. And we died because of a fireball off screen. Sir Lee has been slain by a flamelock, and thus he becomes immortalized in a portrait. And you get to see all the people you killed at least. And it brings you back to the title screen, but when you go to choose your heir, this is where the roguelike elements come in. The person you played at is dead forever, but their descendants come into play to take their place, and you can choose who is their heir, which basically lets you choose between a class, a sub-weapon, and traits. Traits are another key element of this game. You start with a character who has no traits, but this Sir Gans, for example, has no traits. Knight, good at everything, so basically the same as what we just played. This guy is a mage, he has extra mana for his moves, but his trait is Endomorph, which, as it says there, it makes it a lot harder for enemies to knock you around, which can be very useful or very bad depending on the situation. And Hypochondriac is a pretty fun one. I'll save that for later, but for now I'm going to take Sir Grey because he is a class we have not played yet. Now another element is that every time you die, you can spend money you found in the castle to build your castle and upgrade it and do all of these things and to improve your character. We can improve our health, our mana, and just generally a lot of things. We're going to upgrade the knight though, so now it becomes a paladin. You can get, for all the classes, you can get an upgrade to their class. So now our paladins can use a special move to block damage that just consumes mana. Every class has this. Equipment up isn't really an issue right now, so I'm just going to put a little more into my mana and HP. As you can see, these numbers become massive and they scale up in price, so the numbers become ridiculous.
Welcome, hero. Maybe you can help me. I used to be the greatest blacksmith in all the lands, but one day the monsters of this castle attacked my smithy and stole all my blueprints. Without those blueprints, I can only make cutlery and stuff. Please bring back any blueprints you find, and I can build the most amazing equipment ever. Ever. At a price, of course.
So as you can see, if I saved some money, I could have gotten us a better sword, but, oh well, that's life. The game starts you off with pretty much, it starts you off with like 3 freebie blueprints, and I know we got a squire helm or a squire chest. We got one of those a little bit earlier, but we can't really do anything more with that right now. As you can see though, as a mage, our health is crap, but we have a lot of mana to use this move, which is a lot of fun. Because it's a pretty good screen nuke? Not a screen nuke. It's a good, it just gets good coverage. This is our new friend Sharon.
One must pay the toll.
Give Sharon all of your money and enter the castle? That's correct. That is a really good laugh clip, and I like it. That's the thing though, when you find money in this castle, if you do not spend all of it before entering, you have to give it to Sharon. So you enter the castle poor every time. And to add to it, the layout has changed. So everything is different now. Now, I have pretty bad luck with mages, so I'm probably going to die. They do less damage, and even though their magic is useful, eventually that runs out too, and this might be a personal thing, but I have a habit of hoarding my magic moves, anything limited in games, so I'm less likely to use it. So it's less a failure of the class and more of my own ability as a person who uses this kind of class. But I'm getting better about it, I think. Ow, that hurt. And as you can see, one hit takes off 1/3 of our health with an enemy like this. And we may die very shortly if we're not careful. It was a dangerous, risky move to come into this room. This is very bad. And this is the kind of situation that and we're dead. Well, that was very fast and unceremonious. We're dead by a doomvis. Well, that was quite wonderful. Well, I think we have time for one more character. Ooh, there's a knave, a mage, and a paladin. We're gonna try the new character, Lady Antoinette, and she is a knave. Knaves are basically the rogues in this game. They have low stats, but they do have a high crit chance race, and you can't see their face. Her trait is hypergonadism, permaroided, and gigantism. So she's huge, and she knocks enemies back. And she has an axe also, so she can throw that up into the air with the greatest of ease. And sadly, I did not earn enough money to actually use it. Also, for some reason, knaves are stinky. They have this aura of stinky air about them. Hypergonadism is not necessarily the best thing for a knave or a rogue, because as you can guess, it increases your hitbox drastically. On the plus side, also this is ridiculous, thank you very much. I don't think there could have been a way for me to avoid that, but that's just how it is. What was I gonna say? The plus side, of course, as you can see, is that you get huge range with your blade when you're gigantic, and I actually really like the gigantism trait. It's kind of funny, and I've always been a fan of huge sprites in games, just playing as a huge sprite. I need to be careful, and as we get down here, we get a lot of money. This is a fairly easy puzzle, and a fairly common one too to deal with, is just dodging and weaving in between the flames to get where you need to go. Now, I hate these things because as you can see, even though it's just a box, it can turn around, and I wish they didn't do that because that makes no sense. Now, in your repeat visits to this castle, you'll occasionally find this book, and it'll give you more entries. Journal Entry 2. Although I am the eldest child, I am not my father's favorite. I have always known he planned to leave me with nothing. But if I find the cure, everything will change. The victor will earn nothing less than the throne upon his passing. Upon my ascension, my wife and my children should move back into the royal quarters. Back to the royal city, where we once again will be treated with the respect we deserve. No longer will we stand for the gossip and petty slander of my cousins. The other dukes shall bow as we pass. But I am getting ahead of myself. I must keep my priorities clear. Conquer the castle, find the cure, collect my reward. So Prince is looking for a thing. Now here's another fairy chest room, is no jumping. So you have to drop through these floors, and there's no real way to know which way you gotta go in this. It's just kind of chance. I'm not gonna take the path on the right because that seems like the least likely to give me a path forward. Let's take the path on the left, and oh, we already screwed up. Well, that is a shame. Oh well. C'est la vie. And I should have been looking where I was going because now I am in pain from this stupid zombie. Thanks, zombie, I didn't want that. And there's an example of a critical hit. Critical hits are very cool. Now occasionally you'll just find a jukebox in the castle that just kind of plays music throughout the game. It's just kind of a soundtrack thing, and ooh! This is actually the door to the first boss of the game. And you know what? I think we may as well challenge it while we're here after we take care of this room, because I'm stubborn and I want to take care of this room first, and I'm stubborn and fickle at the same time. Who would have thought that you could be stubborn and fickle? Well, we killed that enemy, and I just want to get that treasure chest up there. I'm easily distracted, and games like this, it's easy to get distracted in, because there's so many opportunities. It's very Metroidvania-like in its layout. So it's easy to think, okay, I'll go do this, and then I'll go take care of that. Especially since if you go into a boss, there's a very good chance of dying, and, well, I don't want to die. So you kind of want to get the most out of your playthrough or your area before you die. What is in this room? Nothing, it's just a wall of flames that's fairly easy to stay between unless you're cursed with hypergonadism, which is another reason I'm kind of hesitant to go fight that boss, because he has quite a few bullets that will quite easily demolish me if I'm not careful, and that's harder to do when you're so big and have such a big hitbox. This, however, I can do. So I'm gonna do it, even though I am... oh, jeez. This is ridiculous. This is nothing short of ridiculous. Also, I'm probably going to die and pay for my arrogance in not fighting the boss when I had the opportunity to. Well, if we don't fight the boss in the first episode, it's just as well. There was a cannon right on the other side in that room. And that is not nice. However, there are 2 treasure chests in here, and we immediately took a bone to the foot and died. Lady Antoinette has been slain by a skeleton. Well, damn it. Well, that's just as well. Well, I think that's a good starting point for this series. We went through the castle a little bit, and I showed off 3 classes, but we have a lot more to see with Rogue Legacy, so if you want to see more of this game, then I just hope to see somebody in the next one. I'm Mr. Devious. Bye-bye.